Hey everyone, welcome back for another episode of IK NHL Daily Talk. And unfortunately, I am here alone because Iacob could not make it today. And unfortunately, due to that, this episode will be a YouTube only exclusive episode. So obviously, if you're here watching, I'm sure you're here on YouTube. And if you're somewhere else, that's almost concerning. But it's been a long day already. I mean, I went out, ended up helping a friend and their mom's business and moving some stuff around, doing a lot of general labor. And yeah, I'm going to be honest, it's like the podcast at this exact moment is not necessarily the thing I wanted to do. And, it's just because you're busy. And then, even though I still love doing this podcast, it's just sometimes you're not in the mood. And maybe I'm not in the mood right now, but I still want to get an episode out for you guys. And obviously, like I said, Jacob's not here. But on that, we're trying to make something out of this. We're trying to make this channel as great as it can be. And in order to do that, you have to record when you're not necessarily wanting to all the time. And yeah, put your wants aside and get the job done. But anywho, we'll move on to, the news for today, which the first news revolves actually quite a few news points. The first signing of the day came by the Dallas Stars, and defenseman Jack Anderson signed a 2-year entry-level deal with obviously the Dallas Stars. And apparently Anderson, 23, had 11 goals, 24 points through 39 games played with Michigan Tech University in the NCAA this season, and he was an undrafted free agent. And I looked into his player page a little bit. Obviously, here's his stats, but he's a pretty big guy. He's a 6'6" defender who's 223 pounds, and obviously he is 23 years of age and will not be 24 for a while. So you're not looking at this guy as necessarily just a point scorer, but I do think, down the line that he could end up providing some value for the Dallas Stars. And I mean, it kind of feels reminiscent of, a Tyler Myers where they acquire a guy with some size, and albeit, maybe he's not the most incredible, but I'm not familiar with his game. I haven't watched him, but I'm looking at his last 5 games where he only had 1 assist in his last 5 games, but then you go to his last 10 where he had 11 points. So that means had, I guess, 10 points in a 5-game span. So that is pretty incredible, and I guess he will be joining the Texas Stars, as soon as possible, because obviously the NCAA season is done for some folks. But yeah, he is now a member of the Dallas Stars organization, and good for the kid. But yeah, I like the signing for, Dallas. I feel like all of these signings are low risk. You're signing a guy out of the NCAA, and the absolute worst case scenario, especially at an entry level deal where you're not paying the guy much at all, worst case is he never plays a game for you. And I mean, albeit you want every player that you sign and draft to play games, but you only got to roster 20 guys. You can't have 40 guys that can play in the NHL because 40 guys can't play on your team every night. So, no, great signing, and we'll see. Maybe he can become a guy. Like, this person says, who? This guy is the real deal. Maybe so. Another Jim Nil W, which, not a bad signing, but we'll move on to the New York Islanders, and they have signed their rookie that they drafted 20th overall in 2024, and that is Cole Eiserman, which he had 18 goals, he's 19 years old, and 28 points through 32 games played with Boston University in the NCAA this season. And, he's a pretty good scoring forward where, especially his last 5 games or even 10, he's been pretty excellent for them. And this guy he's a guy who dropped quite a bit in the draft, and he was kind of like one of the bigger goal scorers of the draft, where when you think of guys that can score a goal, you think of, Cole Caulfield, maybe an Austin Matthews and Alex Ovechkin. This guy is one of those guys, albeit maybe not that same skill level or that same truly game-breaking ability, but ultimately, he's 19. We'll see what he can do down the line. But yeah, 6 foot, 201 pounds. His birthday is not till August, so he'll be 19 for a while yet. And obviously, he also played for the USA in the World Juniors this season, and he only ended up playing 5 games where he recorded 2 goals and an assist for 3 points. And then on top of that, obviously his NCAA stats. But signing a kid to his rookie deal is very normal, and yeah, the Islanders got themselves another player here where I feel like they're building something very good there. I mean, you got Iserman. You still have, Schaefer. I do think the Braden Shen trade was still maybe not the right move because I feel like they rushed the process by making that move, but ultimately they think they can contend, and I respect it. And we'll see what happens with the Islanders, but good signing and bringing in, one of their rookie players, and maybe he'll play some games, maybe not, but that is to be determined. And so far, the comment sections, attaboy, cowboy. Is it actually confirmed yet? I believe so. I did not actually fact check sources. I don't know. I haven't seen. I'm gonna be honest. I probably should have done some further research, but the fact that he signed is just a reality. And some people are saying he's not ready, and maybe that's the case. But yeah, I'm done talking about this guy, and we'll move on to the Nashville Predators signing in Zachary Leroux, which he's played some NHL games for them this year and of course last year, but LaRue 22 has 1 goal and 1 point through 10 games played this season with the Nashville Predators. He also has 14 goals and 28 points through 28 games played with Milwaukee, the Admirals, and that is their AHL affiliate. And yeah, it's 2-year extension at $875K. And personally, I agree with the comment section. I think this is an excellent signing for the Predators. And I mean, LaRue, he's still gonna make decent money as long as he plays at that NHL level. But obviously, he's got to play at that NHL level on an ongoing basis. And he's a left wing / center who's 5'11 and 196, so maybe a little undersized, but still. Oh my goodness, excuse me, man. I guess I'm yawning today. But he was a first round pick by the Nashville Predators dating back to the 2021 season, and I feel like this kid's pretty good. I mean, last season he actually spent the majority of the year with the Predators in the NHL, and in 62 games he had 5 goals and 10 assists for 15 points. And then, in his 4 AHL games last season, he had 5 points. But I mean, I don't expect him to go down anytime soon, and we'll see what ultimately happens with him. But it's a good signing. I mean, I can't look at this player and or this team and this signing as being anything but positive. So good for Zachary Leroux, and even better for the Nashville Predators to get him locked up for 2 more years on a cheap cap hit before, maybe he breaks out or whatever. But yeah, obviously after the Predators traded, Cole Smith and Michael McCarron, they needed some depth to come and fill in the bottom of that lineup, and LaRue will do that job to the best of his capabilities. But moving on, we have one last signing before, one more, maybe 2 more news topics. I'm going to intertwine probably that last one in with a game later. But the Leafs have signed, I guess, college free agent, which he was undrafted, forward Brandon Burr to a 1-year entry-level deal. And Burr, who's 23 years old, had 19 goals and 36 points through 35 games played with Union College in the NCAA season this season. What is happening? Is it prospect signing Wednesday or something? I mean, there's no reason not to sign prospects, guys. So I don't know what you're talking about, but hey, who really knows? Well, it's because the NCAA season is ending, so I believe that is the reason. But he's a forward, 6'2", 205 pounds. He is Canadian from Burnaby, so we'll see what he can do. Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm tired from lifting stuff, but yeah, of course, this season he has the 36 and 35. Last season he had 28 and 36, and the year prior he had 35 or 24 and 35. Sorry. So I'm looking at this, and every year he's played, he's been taking a step forward. And I mean, dated back to the 22-23 season, he played in obviously Clarkson University in the NCAA, but he did not perform very well. And I guess he ended up going and joining the Alberni Valley Bulldogs in the BCHL, which he actually did play for them for a few years. So good for him, to earn himself an NHL deal, and maybe he can make the best of that. But that's enough of that. Let's move on to our one player, and it is regarding forward Leon Draisaitl for the Oilers, which obviously this is my guy. I have his jersey and everything, so I love this player, and he is expected to be ready for the playoffs, considering, he, I guess, recently sustained an injury against the Nashville Predators, where Ozzy Weisblatt ended up hitting him into the boards. And yeah, I mean, he had himself, a goal before that had happened. And of course, he is fourth in league scoring behind only McDavid, Draisaitl, and McDavid. Draisaitl could not be behind himself. Behind McDavid, McKinnon, and Kucherov, sorry. But yeah, all is not last after all. What playoffs? I don't know what people are talking about. The Oilers literally won yesterday without Leon Draisaitl, and I do believe this team will make the playoffs. But obviously, even they asking the question, it's like, do they make it? Apparently, they have an 81%, and I agree. Nail Yakupov is expected to win the Conn Smythe. Man, Nail Yakupov would come back and could play at that level to win a Conn Smythe. I would love to see it. Playoffs, if they make it. What was their percentage chance before he got injured? I don't know. And then they'll make it. The Pacific Division is complete and utter cheeks. Yes, I agree. Forget a high ankle sprain. This guy going to be playing on a fully broken leg. Draisaitl will play no matter what. And we'll go over his stats on the year because I said he's having a very good season, which obviously Draisaitl being 30 now. Center left wing at 6'2 and 209. He's a German forward who obviously, played for them at the Olympics and had himself 7 points in 5 games for Germany and 97 and 65 with the Oilers. And yeah, Draisaitl, we hope you're back ASAP. But that's enough talking. I will, be doing a couple of games and I'll be recapping some of them where I'll be saying, just the starting goaltender and the game-winning goal. And for a couple of other games, I have decided that I will, also be doing what's its face. I will also be doing the full recap, and then I'm going to go figure out what the picks were for the day yesterday. And well, actually, I'll do that. I'll just pull up the Spotify episode that Iacob posted, and we will listen to those together. But of course, let's get on with this recap as I've already hand selected games, and I will jump into those when it is the time. But your first game, we see the New York Islanders, beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-1, and I am not surprised that they win this one as the Leafs are way out of it. They're not going to make the playoffs this season, and yeah, I mean, well, I apologize for yawning so much, but unfortunately, if it's with it being uncut, everything makes it in. So if I swear, if I yawn, if I do anything, it's making the cut for the video, and it is what it is. But yeah, 3-1 for the Islanders over the Leafs, and your winning goaltender was Elias Sorokin, which he has had an excellent season, and Callum Ritchie actually scores the second goal for the Islanders, which would stand as the game winner. And he's a pretty good kid, and we'll see what he can do. But good for him, and good for his team to get the 2 points in this one. But moving on, we see the Boston Bruins lose to the Montreal Canadiens in overtime 3-2. And I'm going to be honest, this game was a toss-up. And actually, this game was very important in that Eastern Conference playoff race, as maybe I'll pull up the standings at the end if I do remember, but the standings are very close in that Eastern Conference, and the point margin is very thin, and the Habs to get even just an extra point over the Bruins essentially changes the way that the season could end. And good for the Canadians, and not so good for the Bruins, but at least they get a point in this one. But of course, your winning goaltender was Iacob and your game-winning goal was scored by Cole Caulfield, which, by the way, he has hit 40 on the season now, so very impressive. And, man, for a long time, he was the best 50 goal scorer to never score 40. But now he officially has at the NHL level. But moving on, we see the Carolina Hurricanes go into Columbus, and the Columbus Blue Jackets on home ice end up beating the Hurricanes 5-1, and this team has been very good, and they're just on the outside looking in, but they're right there, and we'll see what happens. But of course, Jet Greaves is your game-winning goaltender for the Blue Jackets, and Charlie Coyle scored the game winner, which there was talk that he might have been flipped at the deadline, but obviously he stuck around in Columbus, and Columbus is, appreciating his efforts, and he's putting his heart and soul into that team, and they're winning some hockey games right now down the stretch, so we'll see what happens, but great win by Columbus. Then moving on to Minnesota versus Chicago, and the Wild win 4-3 in overtime, and the fact that the Hawks even got to OT was pretty incredible in and of its own. But Nick Foligno actually in this game made his return to Chicago in the green and gold, and I mean, I'm gonna be honest, he looked quite odd in a Minnesota Wild sweater, but obviously it's awesome that he gets to play with his brother Marcus, and of course, they get the better of his former team, and yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. The Minnesota Wild are like top five in the league, where of course the Blackhawks are closer to bottom five than top five. But your winning goaltender in this one is Philip Gustafsson, and your game-winning goal in overtime was scored by Matt Zuccarello. So there you have it. But let's go over to our next game where we see the Predators go into Winnipeg to visit the Jets. And the Predators win 4-3 in a shootout. And I will pull up who got the game-winning shootout goal in a minute or two here. But, of course, your winning goalie for the Predators was UC Saros. And the Predators desperately need points. And, man, the fact that they got this win was huge for them and very important in these standings. But, well, I will pull up your shootout winner, and your shootout winner was scored by Ryan O'Reilly. And the recap for the shootout saw Gabriel Velarde go in, and he shot one, which obviously it got saved. Then Ryan O'Reilly took a snapshot, which ultimately got saved, or oh my gosh, ultimately went in. Then Mark Scheifele went on a UC Saros again, and it went in, of course. And then Philip Forsberg goes in, takes a wrist shot, and he does not score. And Kyle Connor taking the third wrist shot on UC Saros, of course, doesn't score. And that is where it stands at 4-3 in favor of the Nashville Predators. But moving on to the first game that I will recap in full, we have the San Jose Sharks to go into Edmonton, and this is a very important matchup as these two teams are quite close in that Pacific Division, and we see the San Jose Sharks lose to the Oilers 3-5, and obviously the Sharks got outshot 30-37, so 37 obviously being higher for the Oilers. But the Oilers display balanced offense and win against Sharks, and it was quite the game, to be honest. I watched like most of it. I missed the first period actually, which obviously saw Connor Murphy score his first as an Oiler. We saw, a Podkolzin goal, and then of course a RNH power play goal, which you love to see it. But sorry, excuse me. But Edmonton, which was playing first game since Draisaitl news, has 13 players record at least 1 point, which is very impressive. But moving on, of course, to your goal scorers on the night, we see Dmitry Orlov scored the first for the San Jose Sharks, which that was only his second of the season, assisted by Alex Wenberg and Kiefer Sherwood, who unfortunately would come to bite the Oilers again, but will not be enough for them later. But RNH on the power play with his 18th of the season halfway through the first would tie the game up just 2.5 minutes after the Orlov goal, assisted by McDavid and Bouchard on a snapshot. But then Murphy with a shot from the point that had a seeing eye ended up squeezing through everyone, and that would have come only a minute 15 after the RNH goal, and that would make the game 2-1 in favor of my Oilers, and that would be assisted by Dickinson and Roslovic, so former Hawk getting a part of the other former Hawks' first goal as an Oiler. But then moving on, we see obviously, Vasily Podkolzin score what would be the Edmonton Oilers' third goal of the night, and that would come just before the 5-minute mark of the first period. And that would be assisted by Adam Henrique, and Pods has been unreal lately, and it's great to see. But moving into the second period, Pavel Regenda with his 9th of the year would score to make it 3-2 in favor of the Oilers, and it is a pretty nice tip, and it is what it is, but he scored and made it 3-2. And then Mario Ferraro and Adam Gaudette would get the assists. And then unfortunately, the Sharks would actually tie the game. And like I said, Kiefer Sherwood, which at the time I was like, not again. Because I thought the Sharks were mounting what was going to become a huge comeback. And man, this team has a way of just like blowing leads. And I don't understand. But I mean, what can you do? But that was assisted by Dmitry Orlov. But moving into the third period, which under 5 minutes into the period, Max Jones, which, I mean, he's just been really solid when he's been called up this year. And he's been up and down, but he's up right now. And he got our team up 4-3, which would stand as your game-winning goal. And Adam Henrique would get his second assist of the night. And Trent Frederick would get only his second assist of the year. And I believe that is his 6th point, although I will not be fact-checking that. But then Zach Hyman got his 29th of the season, assisted by Matt Savoy and Matthias Ekholm on a backhand shot, and that would, stand as your final score, 5-3. And I'd love to show more emotion, but I mean, at this point, I'm pretty tired, and it is what it is. But I'm still here, and I hope that you guys appreciate what I'm doing and trying to make a video out of this. But Mac Jones was your first star of the night with his game-winning goal, and honestly, considering everything, deserved. He's been great. Henrique with his 2 assists is your second star, and once again deserved. The Edmonton Oilers, obviously, like we said, got points from 13 different guys. And then Connor Murphy with a goal, or I guess his individual goal, and his first goal as an Oiler would be your third star of the night. And moving on to your goaltending performances, as obviously for these Sharks, we would see Alex Nedeljkovic as Laurent Brossoit was backing him up. I did make a short on Brossoit's return, so be sure to go check that out. But Alex Nedeljkovic would allow 5 on 37 for an .865 save percentage, which honestly not great. And then of course we would see, Connor Ingram for the Oilers, and he would allow 3 on 30 for a .900 flat. And as long as the Oilers get .900 goaltending, for the most part, we are good in a lot of games. But I just want to take a look at this Oilers team and all the guys that recorded points. Like Kapanen, I guess, didn't get one. Szymanski didn't get one. And then Stastny, Nurse, Wallman never got one. But that's a lot of guys who recorded at least a point. And that is great to see. But for your season series in this one, the Oilers won the first matchup of the year 4-3 in OT. Then the Sharks won 5-4 in regulation. And of course, on March 17th, which was yesterday, the Oilers took a 2-1 series lead for this season series, and they have one more matchup on April 8th, which will determine whether the Sharks can tie it or the Oilers can take it all. But we'll move on, and we see the Canucks beat the Panthers 5-2, which, to be honest, I was not expecting this one at all. This is one that kind of threw me, threw me for a loop, because the Canucks are at rock bottom, and the Panthers are, hitting their equivalent of a rock bottom by losing to the Canucks. And Kevin Lankinen only allowed 2 goals in this game, which for his standards this season is honestly quite good. And Marco Rossi would record the game-winning goal for the Canucks, and he has 10 points in his last, I believe it was 7 games. So great to see, and great win by the Canucks. But I think if you're a Canucks fan at this point, you just want a tank. So who really knows? But moving on, we see the Buffalo Sabres go into Vegas, and they blank the Knights 2-0. And that would mean that Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen would record his first shutout of the season, and Josh Doan with the first goal of the night for the Sabres would, make the game 1-0. And of course, that since the Knights never scored, that was good enough. And yeah, you love to see it. But then, of course, the Tampa Bay Lightning go into Seattle, and in this one, actually, I have the full recap. Sorry, this I never pulled up prior, but yeah, the Lightning go into Seattle and they win 6-2, outshooting the Kraken 25-18. And Kucherov gets hat trick, 2 assists to power Lightning past Kraken. Which Kucherov actually is the news point I wanted to bring up. He has 93 points in his past 45 games, so he has been by far the best player in the league since the new year has flipped, and even before that. But Hagel has 4 points for Tampa Bay, which pulls away with 3 goals in the third period. But going on to your goal scores, Gage Goncalves, I don't know how you say it, tips in a shot for his 11th of the year, assisted by Braden Point and Jake Gensel. Then moving on, we see Kucherov get his first of the night, and first point of the night for that matter. And that would come off of a Brandon Hagel assist, and he wrist shotted it right into the net. And then in the second period, not even long, obviously on paper, not a long time, but obviously there was a whole intermission. But Kucherov, of course, scores to make it 3-0 for the Lightning. And actually, this would stand as the game winner at the end of the game. But only 10 seconds after Kucherov had made the game 3-0, Bobby McMahon comes in and ties. Whoa. He brings the Kraken to within 2, and he stays hot with his new team, which, man, he's been good, that's for sure. And he obviously, Matty Beniers got an assist on that one. But moving on, we see Jared McCann scores 18th of the year, and that would come halfway through the second, assisted by Jordan Eberle and Philip Grubauer. But then moving into the third period, the Lightning would score again, and that would be Anthony Cirelli 4 minutes and 35 seconds into the period. And then Brandon Hagel on the power play. And then, of course, Kucherov with an empty netter. Your 3 stars of the night were 1, Kucherov, of course, with his 3 goals and 2 assists. Brandon Hagel with a goal and 3 assists for 4 points is your 2nd star. And Anthony Cirelli with a goal and 2 assists is your 3rd star. And, we'll go over your goaltending performances, which saw Andrei Vasilevsky allowed 2 goals on 18 shots for an 889, but they only allowed 2, and obviously they limited the Kraken shots to only 18, so that was a good performance by them. And for the Kraken, it was Philip Grubauer, who allowed 5 on 24 for a 792, and obviously the last shot was an empty netter, so not good enough. But yeah, we see the Tampa Bay Lightning win this matchup 6-2, and this will be the first of 2 matchups as these 2 teams will match up in 8 days' time, again, to decide whether the Kraken can tie the season series or the Lightning will sweep it all. But sorry, folks, that was my song I was listening to prior to the episode, but there you have it. Of course, there's your full recap, and I will scroll through it again. And actually, you know what I never did? I never pulled up the daily face-off starting goalies for you, so I will pull up the starting goaltenders for today, which is March 18th, and we will, summarize what is going on today. But of course, our first matchup at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we see the New Jersey Devils visiting the New York Rangers, and that will be Jacob Markstrom versus Jonathan Quick for the Rangers. Then, for our second start, and I guess only second game at that 5 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time start, we got the Pittsburgh Penguins going into Carolina, and for the Penguins it will be Stuart Skinner, and for the Canes it will be Freddie Anderson. Then at 30 p.m. Mountain Time, and that'll be 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we see the Ottawa Senators go visit the Washington Capitals, and that will be Linus Ullmark versus Logan Thompson. But then at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time, and that'll be 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we see the St. Louis Blues visiting the Calgary Flames, looking to stay alive in the playoff race, and that will be Joel Hofer for the Blues, who has been pretty damn good, and same with Devin Cooley for the Flames. He's been pretty good in his own right. Now, for our second and final start at that 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time start, that will be see the Dallas Stars face off against the Colorado Avalanche, and that will be Jake Ottinger versus Scott Wedgwood. Then moving on to our last matchup of the day, we see the Philadelphia Flyers go into Anaheim. That will be at 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and it is unconfirmed, but it may be Dan Vladar, which I will refresh the page, and yes, it will be. It might be Dan Vladar, it might be Urson, we shall see. But the Ducks is confirmed, it will be Lukas Dostal, so feel free to take a quick look, but of course we have 6 games on the schedule for today, and on that note, I should have pulled this up prior to the episode, but I'm going to pull up the Spotify, and we will listen together to see if, we can figure out who actually scored yesterday and who actually hit on their picks. So give me one moment as my internet is not fully cooperating, and yeah, I apologize for that. I really should have had this open, but the podcast, which if it will load, come on. All right. So Tuesday was yesterday, and here we will give it a listen, but we will skip ahead to one sec and previewing NHL. Okay, viewing
the Dallas Stars. Unfortunately, the Calgary Flames.
Here we go. So here's our recap for the picks.
Panthers, Canucks, Sabres, Golden Knights, and Lightning, Kraken. And real quick to recap my picks, I went 2 for 4 yesterday with the Utah Mammoth beating the Dallas Stars. Unfortunately, the Calgary Flames did not beat the Red Wings, which I hope the Flames would have won, but they did not. Matt Coronado did, in fact, have a point last night. He had 2, an assist, and a goal for one of the Stars. And unfortunately, Jack Hughes did not have a goal last night. And Kyle went 1 for 4, as his only correct prediction was the Pittsburgh Penguins, who
sorry for this quiet before.
Absolutely dismantled the. And I don't even remember if I said the Pittsburgh. Wait. Did I say the Pittsburgh game? I don't know. Oh my goodness. I might have forgotten to say. Okay, I did forget to say the Pittsburgh game. Whoops, sorry about that, guys. I just realized that now. But Pittsburgh won 7-2, crushing the Colorado Avalanche. And the 3 stars of the game, Evgeny Malkin was the first star.
I guess that's a blooper that Iacob messed up on. So I will skip ahead a little bit, and
It
we'll
being
see if he
yesterday
listens
and
to
the
these
second one
picks.
being in 8 days, in a week from today. So yeah, be on the lookout for that, and hopefully the Colorado Avalanche don't get dismantled again. But I guess I'm snoozing or something because I cannot believe I missed that game. I think I was so ready to get on with the the daily face off and all that I guess I just missed that last game. So I'm so sorry.
All right, Iacob, cut to the chase, buddy. I
The
love
Vegas
Iacob, but come
Golden
on.
Knights, and I am going to take a Tage Thompson beat the Avalanche, what they did. Unfortunately, he said the Panthers to beat the Canucks, and he said a Bobby McMahon goal for the Seattle Kraken. So, real quick, just to recap, I said that the Sabres were going to beat the Golden Knights, and I said a Tage Thompson goal, and Kyle said the
Okay, so the Sabres to beat the Golden Knights, which that did indeed happen, and Iacob said for his second pick of the day,
Panthers to beat the Canucks, and a
which
Bobby McMahon goal. So, with that
and then he said a Tage Thompson goal, which I will double check, but I don't think that happened. I do know that Bobby McMahon did win, and of course the Panthers lost. So I went 1 for 2 yesterday, and Iacob went, which I will double check here, and I believe he did not. He went 1 for 2, and this is kind of funny. I don't really understand what's going on right now, but that is okay because I'm trying to have some fun here. But oh man, Jakob sent me a text. I don't remember what his picks are. Oh man. Hey, yo, I will grab my phone. I'll be away for just 1 second. Give me a sec, folks. All right, I left my phone charging on my bed, so I had to run over real quick to be able to grab my phone. But Jakob says today that he thinks the Philadelphia Flyers are going to beat the Anaheim Ducks, and he says a Robert Thomas goal for the St. Louis Blues. And for my prediction today, I am actually going to take. I will take the Flames to beat the Blues, and I think I will take the. I'm actually going to take the other side. Well, oh, wait, no. I'm also supposed to make one team pick. Sorry. The Flames to beat the Blues. And then I think we will see a Nathan MacKinnon goal for the Colorado Avalanche. I don't believe I predicted him on this show. So there you have it, folks. Jakob, of course, said Flyers to beat the Ducks, which obviously he's not here. And Robert Thomas goal for the Blues. And then I said the Calgary Flames to beat the St. Louis Blues and a Nathan MacKinnon goal. But that's your picks of the day. And to be honest, I have places to be. I have curling here shortly, so I need to get this show on the road. And fortunately, it will be a quick intro here. But thank you all for listening, of course. And yeah, I appreciate all the feedback, the little feedback, all the comments in general, and yeah, anyone who leaves a view, a like, whatever. We appreciate it. Go give us a follow on Spotify and Instagram at the same handle as IKNHL Daily Talk. And yeah, we'll see you guys later. Peace out, y'all.